Okay, hello everybody. It is Wednesday evening, just past 8 o'clock, so apologies I'm a little late. And also apologies for the different setup with the strange lighting today. I'm not in my usual environment, so hopefully it's not too Halloweeny, as we had a bit of a scary video a few weeks ago with the Medusa filter. But anyway, so here I am. My name is Anna Lundberg. I'm the founder of One Step Outside, where we help people build a business and create a lifestyle that brings them more freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. And this, of course, is our weekly live right here in the One Step Outside Facebook group. It's 8 o'clock UK time, more or less every Wednesday. If you do hear a little bell noise, it's the little dog here that may make an appearance as well. So his name is Bert. We'll see if he appears. We've had some nice snuggles today and walks out in the almost sunshine today, dare I say it, after a very rainy day. Hello, hello, do say hi if you're joining. Would love to see who's on and as ever get a bit of a weather update on the world. I did a webinar the other day and pretty much everybody who was in the audience was in Dubai or South Africa or somewhere else incredibly hot, Kenya, and there I was sitting in sort of very cold rainy England, so a little bit jealous there. But you know, I also love the whole Christmas period of you know, snuggling up and having hot chocolate, lots of hot chocolates and fires and things, so it's not all bad news. Hi Lydia, great to see you. Really good to see you in the group and great to see you here live. So today actually is quite a short session. Last week we did a session, more of a sort of how-to practical on standing out against your competition with your business. And we're shifting gears a little bit now because it is almost December, would you believe it? Which means that there's lots happening now as we round out the year 2018 and also start planning for 2019. So there'll be lots of things coming up, and I do want to give a bit of an update. The very exciting news, at least for me, is that my podcast, my first episode 0 launch episode, sort of teaser, as it were, trailer, is being submitted as we speak. So it may take some time for it to appear in Apple, and I still have a couple more episodes that I want to put out. But I'm really excited that that's coming out too. So it's reimagining success. And that's going to be hopefully another way for you to connect. And when you can't join live, you know, face to face, I love listening to podcasts. It's such a great way to just have that audio on the go, on your commute to the gym, doing the dishes or whatever. So hopefully that's a nice addition to the ecosystem that is One Step Outside. So podcast coming soon. Last year throughout December, we did this daily advent calendar challenge. So each day there's a little bit of sort of a thought and insight and almost an action step, a challenge for that day. So that's going to be coming soon too. And what is it? Just over a week until 1st of December. So keep an eye out for that. Next week already, you'll have the opportunity to sign up to a free workshop, a free webinar, where we're going to be doing exactly this, of reviewing 18? I keep getting the years wrong. And starting to plan for 2019. So keep an eye out for that. And then after that, there will also be a business planning workshop. So the one that's opening up next week is more around sort of reimagining success in your life in all those different areas, which includes work, but not just work. And after that, we'll have something that's a lot more concrete for those of you who are a bit further along, who already have a business and really want to set yourselves up for success in 2019 is the year. And there will also be some new opportunities to work with me. Of course, there's always the individual private coaching. There's my group program. There's something else coming up as well. So if you have any questions on that, or if you've been thinking about it for a while, now is a great time to hop on the phone with me and have a chat with me before prices go up next year as well, actually, and before things move around, and just make sure that you secure one of the spots. So if it is something that you've sort of been considering, then do just send me a private message and we can have a chat about if it's the right thing for you and what that could look like. So I think those were the updates I wanted to give you in terms of what's happening in the coming weeks. But to the topic of this week, and hopefully you've seen the blog post. Hello, I can see someone else joining, so do say hi when you're joining. Again, this is not the most flattering lighting. I'm not sure if there's a better way for me to sit here, but it doesn't really matter. It's more about what we're talking about rather than how I look, isn't it? So the topic this week is actually setting the scene really for all this stuff that's coming up. So why even bother to plan? Why do we set these goals for the new year? Why is this such an important thing? And I think it becomes a bigger and bigger piece for me every year, actually, in terms of taking that time out of the day-to-day, of just kind of plodding along with your action plan and whatever it is and letting life happen and really looking at the bigger picture. Hi, Fiden, great to see you. Good to have you online as ever. Just talking about the idea of planning for the new year and why that's so important. So I don't know if you guys usually set New Year's resolutions. Is that something you do? More recently, I think more and more people are criticizing these because there are those stats that show, only about 8% of people ever actually keep their resolutions. We have things like, oh, I'm going to be fitter and healthier and go to the gym more, and all these very generic goals that are probably too vague. They're not really meaningful to us. They're just things that we think we should do, right? And of course, we end up not being particularly committed to them. Within weeks or months, we stop going to the gym, we start eating chocolate. Once you've had one, then slippery slope back into your old habits and routines. And the year will go by and we'll get to the end of November 2019 and we'll go, hang on a second, I'm not fitter, I'm not healthier, and all those things that I said I would be. So first of all, are those goals actually meaningful to you? And then secondly, have you sat down and really looked at what would be meaningful for you? And is that really important to make sure that you can actually achieve them next year? So of course there is a more laid back approach of just kind of letting life happen, and I'll be open to it, and the universe will bring whatever it brings, and so on. And that sounds very nice. And there is room for that as well. I think we do need to have that space, the freedom, the spontaneity, the opportunity to jump on things that come along and so on. But the reality is, and there are all these quotes about this, that if you don't know where you're going, how are you ever going to get there? And the truth is that I think most of us deep down do know where we want to be going. So if we could admit that to ourselves, whether it's a massive goal, it's a massive career change or lifestyle change, or something a little bit smaller, we do know deep down what it is that's important to us. And if we begin to unpick all those sort of shoulds and expectations and learn behaviours and beliefs and things we've got from school, from education, from parents, teachers, society, TV, social media now, and we begin to reflect on what's really important to us, then we can begin to look at, hang on, where do I want to get to trust that, to admit that to ourselves and to other people. And then once you know what that what is and why it's important to you, it's so much easier to work out the how to get there. We tend to rush straight into that action plan and to try to find a solution. But really, we need to know what it is we want first and foremost before we even get to the point of trying to work out how to get there. And this really is not just about New Year's planning. This is my entire sort of vision around reimagining success, which is what the podcast is about, which is what this group is about. It's much more than leaving your corporate job or questioning your career, whatever it is. It really is taking that big picture of what you want from life. And that is basically what we're doing here. So sorry, there was a noise there from someone pinging me on Facebook. But it's all around thinking intentionally about what you want from this coming year. And then we can break that into milestones and goals and actions and strategies, and we can get help when we need it, and we can, see what's feasible or not, but really looking at what is important to us in this new year, and then beginning to plan for that as well. So those of you who are watching live, I'd love to hear from you if you usually do New Year's resolutions, what your experience is with that. Those of you watching the replay as well, let me know if you have a particular approach. I was talking to someone the other day who mentioned the idea of having a theme, and the good news is that this is definitely part of my approach to New Year's planning now. It has been for the last 5-6 years actually, so that will be part of the workshop that we're doing next week. Having sort of a big theme, a red thread throughout your year, something like being externally focused or having an impact. It can be a word, it can be a phrase, but something that's sort of clear enough in your mind to really guide you on what you want from this year. Bold decisions. I had the year when I left my job and changed everything. Although probably I retrospectively sort of added that probably wasn't something I had planned up front. And then follow through was the next year, consistency, all these things. So you can see maybe how they can kind of give you a direction to follow without being too rigid. So that's quite good. And then beneath that big theme, you can then set some more specific goals in particular areas of your life as well. But really, as I said, it's just a quick session this evening to get us hopefully excited about thinking about what we really want for next year. Of course, it's going to start with looking back on this year, 2018. So if we did set ourselves goals and so on, what's worked well, what hasn't worked so well, what's been missing, what do we want more of next year? And then beginning to shift towards next year, okay, based on what's happened and what hasn't happened this year, what do we want to do differently? What do we want to make sure we have more of? What do we want less of? Perhaps stress or overworking might be a less less, I don't know, less, I was thinking again, some standard sort of things around healthy things and so on, but there might be less illness maybe, and that could be translated into something more specific. But hopefully you guys agree with me that this is important, and you'll be able to carve out some time in the coming weeks. The webinar workshop is basically just half an hour, so it's quite quick and intense, really. I didn't want it to be full of gaps where I'm just sitting there and we're sort of sitting in silence, but that does mean that you'll probably need more than that half hour. You'll want to pause the webinar, watch the replay, to really sit down with the workbook and answer those questions honestly and thoroughly, and then come back to it over the next few weeks. Again, we're looking at reviewing the year, so that's a big piece. You can begin to maybe reflect already now on where you've come from and what you've been doing this year, and then begin to see if you have any sort of big ideas or goals that are already coming to mind for the coming year. But again, this really is the sort of foundational belief that I have as a coach and as an individual now. We come from this, you know, in my experience, conveyor belt of not really having thought about, looked at where I was going, and then who knows where you'll end up and if that's going to be meaningful to you when you get there. And I think that's true for a lot of us. Again, career is the obvious example, because we've often ended up in a career sort of accidentally after university or after school. But it can happen in other areas too, that we're just kind of plodding along, doing what we're supposed to do without really thinking about what we want to do. And again, what we want to do could be, I want to start a business, I want to earn loads more money, I want to become famous. I mean, there can be big goals like that. I want to start a family, I want to find a home, I want to leave my home and go traveling, or it can be smaller things as well. I want to make sure that I see my family more often, that I'm more present with people. I'd love to develop a meditation practice, for example. So it could be, you know, big, small, feasible, crazy. You want to publish a book, launch a podcast, maybe run a marathon. This is the really fun part, when we get to really dream, visualize, imagine what's possible next year. And I think a year, you know, it's actually quite a long time, so we'll definitely be breaking it into quarters. So we have kind of 3 months, 90 days, 12 weeks, whatever you want to call it, periods. I think that's a really good chunk of time. So you can have kind of 4 quarters of the year. But certainly I think there's a lot that we can do next year. And I certainly need to sit down now and think about my own goals for the coming year. So I'll be following along in that journey with you. But that's really all I wanted to say, just a bit of a sort of taste really of what's to come. Again, there's the webinar that you're going to be able to sign up to next week, podcast coming very, very soon, hopefully. There'll be the advent calendar as well. There'll be a business workshop, business planning workshop for next year. And again, to reiterate, if you have been thinking about working with me perhaps, then do get in touch now before the crazy Christmas period, both for me and for you, and then we can get you set up to hit the ground running in the new year 2019. Woo, very exciting. So thanks so much for watching. Again, it was just a short little session, so not such a practical session as we had last week, more of kind of a setting the scene, inspirational one, but hopefully we're getting into gear, we're sort of getting comfortable with this idea of planning, and you're excited as I am to sort of start almost from scratch with this new year. It's quite an arbitrary time, really, new year, but it's, I think, as good a time as any to sit down and look at our goals at least once a year. So thanks so much, Lydia, pleasure. Thanks for joining tonight, Fiden as well, and anyone else who's watching the replay. And again, do send me your questions and comments, maybe ahead of our planning that we're going to kick off next week. And otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in one of these many things, many arenas that are happening in the coming weeks. Thanks so much, have a lovely evening, and I'll see you soon. Bye.